Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Mintle. Hey, thanks for listening to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. Faith radio podcasts are only possible because of your support. Thanks for giving and for sharing with a friend.
Doing life together, reaching out with hope, encouraging one another, each step along the road. You and I can make everything a little better, doing life together.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Linda Mintle Show. I'm your host, Dr. Linda Mintle, the relationship doctor. And I'm here along with my co-host, the other Dr. Mintle, my husband, Norm. And every weekend we're here, we're doing life together. And as always, we're so glad you joined us.
Yes, welcome. Welcome. We're happy to have
Can you
everybody.
say welcome in other languages, maybe?
Bienvenido.
Yeah.
Bienvenue. How do you say it in Mandarin? See, I can't
See,
possibly do that.
What
so-
did Wenjing say?
I don't know. I can't hear her.
Oh, okay. She
I have
knows. Say. She
headsets
doesn't
on.
have a mic, so we couldn't do it. She knows Mandarin, though. She
That's
does.
right.
All right.
You know, if you've ever read or watched headlines in any kind of news outlet, you have seen the story of celebrity relationships being played out in front of God and everybody. I mean, all the drama, all the breakups, all the makeups. I mean, let's be honest. They're hardly the best models for lasting, loving relationships, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But even outside the spotlight, Norm, most relationships do go through rough patches, or there are issues that come up between couples or even friends or even workers and coworkers, right?
Sure.
So while we're not celebrities, we may still have relationship problems that may need a little bit of help now and then.
And when those struggles do come along, what we really need, I think, is solid, practical advice, not just cliches and truisms and quick fixes and 3 ways to fix your marriage, that kind of stuff. That's why today we're going to dive into some of the most common relationship issues and learn how to work through them.
That's right. And we're going to start with a very foundational truth.
Okay?
Repairing a relationship takes effort from both parties.
Why is that so obvious and yet
Well,
it isn't for many people?
I
right?
mean, we're going to talk about, and I'll probably mention it at some point, what happens a lot of times in couples therapy, and this has been my experience. One person would come to therapy so they could say, hey, we tried it. But it was more about checking a box than truly working on the relationship. So there wasn't really any investment in that work at all. And, you know, I would call that out really early, because if both people aren't willing to do the work, and that's what we're talking about, regardless if it's couple, parent and child, coworkers, both parties have to show up, engage in what they're doing. If not, it may mean that one person is already out the door emotionally. So nothing you're really going to do is going to work.
Sure.
There's no point trying to solve a problem when only one person wants it solved.
Right. Well, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Sure. So then what do you do in that kind of situation if one person isn't even willing to engage? Are there options?
You know, the one thing you can do is you have to find out why they're so checked out. And in my experience, it's often tied to deeper issues like there's an emotional or a physical affair going on. There may be fear of being vulnerable in an intimate relationship. A lot of times, and people overlook this, there's an unresolved trauma or some type of struggles with intimacy that trace back to childhood. So you need to uncover what's beneath that, what we would call resistance, because most of the time, it's not just about the person that's in front of you
Right.
that you're struggling with. It's about something maybe that it's internal that they had in their childhood growing up and they haven't faced it yet.
Have you ever heard someone say, well, we just need a fresh start?
Yeah, but getting away from the person will not fix the problem. So what happens is people typically repeat whatever problem they had in the first relationship, they take it with them to the next relationship. So what I used to say to couples is, you can work on it now with this partner, or you can go through another messy relationship and you'll be right back to where you started.
Yeah.
So why not do it now?
Yeah, work on it now, work
Yeah.
on it later, or never work on it and repeat.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about this classic saying we've all heard, couples who play together stay together. That sounds like a cliche to me, but is there actual truth in the playing part?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say couples who pray together, which we will get to that.
That comes later.
That comes later. But yes, it actually is like one of the key things we want to talk about in this part of the program, because it reflects the friendship at the heart of a healthy relationship. So when couples spend time together doing things they enjoy, they actually are strengthening that friendship piece. And that is foundation for a deeper connection and deeper intimacy.
But let's be honest, we all know how busy we get, and life gets busier and busier, especially as kids get older and older, and the jobs and all the other things come piling in, and it's easy, it seems, for couples to drift into a routine. And that routine includes time apart, and that becomes normal instead of the exception.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It's really the problem, because when that happens, there's emotional distance that starts to happen with that physical distance. So if you're not intentional about spending time together, it's going to be easy to grow apart without even realizing it's happening.
But what if I'm thinking about an introvert married an extrovert? So what if one person wants to spend a lot more time and the other person's like, no, leave me alone, I need to unwind? How do you make that work?
Yeah, well, we both have degrees in communication, right? You have a few more than I do in that area. But you've got to talk about your expectations and understand each other's needs. So otherwise, one person is going to feel smothered, right? The one who needs more space, while the other person's going to think, they're neglecting me.
Yeah.
I need more time. So it's really all about finding that balance, no matter what your personality is, and then spending intentional time together. You still have to find time to do that. It's a foundational building block for intimacy if you don't continue to build that friendship.
And it sounds to me, you say continue to build, it's ongoing. It's not just, we fixed that, next.
Yeah, we did something together, now we're good.
Yeah, we're good for another 10 years. Great, okay. I think there's another danger, though, that we see a lot in couples, especially today, and that's people who work too much or they're overworking. Someone pours everything into their job, and then they end up missing time at home, missing time with the family, and certainly not fixing a relationship.
Yeah, that's a big problem, and it's a real setup for that emotional disconnection that we've been talking about because, it's hard to feel valued when your partner's job always comes before you.
Sure.
Right? And honestly, Norm, I do want to say this to the audience that's listening. You've been great about this. You've had very demanding jobs, very high positions in media, but you've always protected our time together, and that has made a huge difference in our relationship.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. But I remember thinking, even in grad school, this is important, and I'm going to leave school at school, and we'll spend our time together and do what we're doing. So if you're listening right now, which you must be if you're listening, that's a cliche I shouldn't have used, I'm sorry, and you realize that the friendship in your relationship is fading or has faded, that you're not spending time together like you should, let alone having fun, where do we begin? What do we do?
Yeah, you got to really make this a honest conversation, and you have to actually not ignore it, but name it. So say, I think we're losing our friendship angle. And then you have to start carving out a space in your schedule and protect that space. So do things that will help you relax and open up. I mean, if you're doing something fun, then a lot of times the conversation just begins to flow naturally, right? It doesn't have to be fancy. You can even just decide you're going to go for a walk. I mean, we started doing that before it got so hot this summer. You and I would just go for a walk at the end of the day. And even a shared hobby. So both of us love to do cooking and activities around that, and barbecuing. That can be fun. Or, for some people it might be that they play tennis together, or they like to do crossword puzzles together. Something, Scrabble, something, whatever it is. Just make sure that it's something you pay attention to. Even a low-key date night is a really good way to protect that friendship. And then it really does help to, change things up. We've talked a lot about the importance of novelty on this show, where that really gives a dopamine hit to the brain. So just a short weekend break, someplace new. Sometimes during the day, just send a text message, a voice message, something that says, hey, I'm thinking about you. And just remember that friendship is just as important as the romance. Do things together, have fun, and make that whole thing balanced out.
That's good. Okay, but what about the opposite issue? And this kind of goes back to the question I asked you a few minutes ago. What if you're in a relationship where the expectation is you're going to spend all of your time together?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's no balance at all. There's no
Yeah.
room to breathe being yourself.
Yeah, that's not really healthy for anybody because that does feel suffocating, even in a very loving relationship. So while it's great to enjoy being together, we call this being joined at the hip.
Yeah,
Like
right.
you just can't separate. That's not so healthy long term. So we all need a little space to maintain our individuality, to grow, to pursue our own interests. Sounds like I'm saying the opposite of what I just said, but it's a balance,
It's balance.
of this,
There's
right?
the word.
And,
Yep.
and it's important for me to talk to my friends and not always have to be you and I together, or building some community outside of that relationship, as long as you're including the person you need to include to keep that friendship going.
Right. So we make time for each other and for ourselves.
That's right. So, it's not either or, it's both, right? That's what we're talking about. You have to have some connection, but you have to have some independence.
Right. So give us an example of how that works.
Well, so in our own life, right? You grew up in Honduras.
Right.
I did not. I grew up in the frozen north. And you love soccer, and you played it in college. You like to watch the games. I'm not that interested in watching soccer on TV. I don't mind it when I go to a stadium. But when you're watching, I can do other things. I can read. I can talk to a friend then. We don't have to spend every waking moment together.
Right. Good. Yeah. And I guess it's important to say we have permission to do that, right? So
Right.
nobody feels slighted. But it seems like the challenge could be to find the right balance that works for both of us.
I think that's just the key.
Right. Communication, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to another common issue. Couples tend to argue about the same things over and over and over, like dirty laundry or a clogged sink or how the money's handled or that look your partner gives you when they're upset. Honestly, you could keep going on a long, long list there for everybody.
But I think it's important that you're saying that, because the key here isn't necessarily what you fight about. It's how you fight. And we've mentioned the Gottman Institute because they have done a lot of research over the years on this topic. I mean, decades of research, and it's solid. And they found that couples argue about the same issue about 69% of the
Wow.
time. So repeating arguments doesn't mean your relationship is doomed.
No, you talked about that in your book. We
I
need to
did.
talk. We need to talk.
Yeah.
Every time we hear somebody say that, we think about
of the book title. Yeah.
But you say it's not the presence of conflict that breaks couples apart, but the style differences of their conflict.
Right. So every relationship has conflict. It's just part of what happens. But how you handle those conflicts and disagreements makes all the difference. So if you fight with, and we did a whole show on this, criticism, defensiveness, sarcasm, or contempt, that's toxic, and that's going to damage the relationship over time. And on the other hand, if you can disagree respectfully with kindness, self-control, a willingness to listen, those fights aren't going to tear you apart. In fact, they can even make you stronger because you're working through them as a team.
Okay, so here's the simple prescription. No yelling, no name calling, no eye rolling, no slamming doors.
You got it.
Okay.
None of that is good. Those behaviors only escalate things, and they really hurt a relationship. So pause, stay calm, choose your words carefully that express how you feel without attacking the other person. And that all takes maturity and humility, but it's possible and essential, especially with the Holy Spirit in you,
Right.
to be able to do that.
Well, there you have it, folks. Conflict isn't the bad guy.
That's right.
But the way you fight can be. So order a copy of We Need to Talk and learn how to fight fair. Dr. Linda says it's not about avoiding conflict. It's about handling it with respect, self-control, and, by the way, a little grace. But before we continue with our third common relationship problem, we're going to take a break. More on the Dr. Linda Mintle Show in just a moment.
Whenever I start to sense anxiety, it feels like an old friend of mine that I don't like. Certainly when that happens, I'm asking God to come into this with me with prayer and also pick up the phone or talk to somebody. It breaks the grip.
When I am faced with unexpected situations, that is one of the big anxiety triggers.
Anxiety? Anxiety's the boogeyman. It jumps out and grabs me when I'm least expecting it. But also, like the boogeyman, it's a creation of my mind and therefore subject to the Word of God.
When I'm feeling anxious, this is what I do. I pray and I go for a walk.
Anxiety does not have to control your life because God has provided the perfect prescription. Learn how to lean on Him for your peace, your strength, and your hope with Dr. Linda Mintel's new book, Hope and Healing for Anxiety, available wherever you buy your books.
And this is Dr. James Cribbs, pain physician and co-author of Living Beyond Pain. Psalm 13, 1 and 2 is often the cry of the person in pain. How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? The psalmist concludes that he is not forgotten and that his suffering matters to God. God will sustain him and God will sustain you.
Hi, welcome back. This is the Dr. Linda Mintel Show, and please allow me to remind you to check out her books and blogs. You can do that at her website, drlindamintel.com, drlindamintel.com. That's where you'll find those blogs and books. You can connect with her on social media. For example, you can follow her on X or Instagram at the little @ Dr. Linda Mintel, or on Facebook at Dr. Linda Mintel, author and speaker. Dr. Linda, your book, We Need to Talk, relates to our topic today, and it's a great resource. That's an important one.
I think so. A lot of people have been helped by that book, and it's helpful because we all have conflict, like we said, and it really helps you deal with conflict in a good way.
Well, and it's such a great title because you hear it all the time, and
Yeah.
that's how you came to it. It's like people say, we need to talk.
Usually
and-
with bristling, you hear
Yeah.
it and you go, uh-oh.
Uh-oh,
If somebody
yeah.
comes up to me and says, we need to talk, I'm thinking, okay, this can't be good.
Yeah, it's kind of like when your boss says, come to my office.
Yeah,
No,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You don't expect good things from that.
No.
But
no.
this is good things. You'll
Yeah.
get good things out of this book.
All right, let's move on to that third common relationship problem. And this one can be a pretty big deal. You don't get along with your partner's parents. It's that infernal in-laws, outlaws problem.
Yeah, we did a show on that years ago. I wonder if we need to redo that show or talk about that show some more. So it's a tough one, but let's start with some perspective, Norm. So let's just remember from the get-go, your partner didn't choose their parents.
Well, that's
Okay?
true.
Right?
It seems obvious, but you're right.
But yeah, and just like I didn't choose mine, right?
Right.
So, if I don't like yours, you didn't choose them. You don't like mine, I didn't choose them. They are our parents. So if you're feeling disconnected or uncomfortable with that other family, I mean, I get it. That's okay. But it's important to talk about it because most people want to feel accepted by their in-laws. It matters more than we sometimes admit to, and we don't always talk about it.
Well, this reminds me of another one of your books and a great title, I Married You, Not Your Family.
Right.
Which is this exact same concept. I didn't marry them, I married you, and yet you
did,
argue in your
actually.
book you actually married the whole package.
That's right.
Congratulations.
They come as a package deal is what I say.
It's easy for us. It's awfully easy for us to focus on things that annoy us, especially if your family's way is so different than the way I was brought up or the expectations in my family. I mean, we could talk about this for an hour, but my family was very quiet
Very
and
different.
reserved and non-conflict, very conflict avoidant. Yours was loud and German and having a great time. And I remember, I've probably told this story before, the first time I went to a dinner and I came back after, I said, why are they all yelling at each other?
And I said, they're not yelling.
They're not yelling.
They're expressing their opinion very loudly.
Loudly.
Which we all did, and we don't get mad about it. We just
Right.
listen and go, we react, but we don't hold grudges. We don't get mad about that.
But I figured it out because the next time I got in there and I thought, I've got something to say, so I did it loudly.
You did. You kind of adapted more to my style than I did to yours, I
Well,
would
because
say.
we lived near yours, mine were in
We did.
Argentina. So,
we did,
you know.
yeah. And I had a lot more of them than you did.
That's true.
I had a lot of family. I mean, 7 brothers and sisters on one side for my mom and my dad. 8. I think it's
8
my
on
mom
one,
8,
yeah.
my dad 7. So we had
Yeah.
a lot of aunts and uncles, and they were all together. But the question is, they're just different. They're not bad.
Right.
So I think we have to keep that in our mind. Let's say maybe your mom's partner isn't into decorating, or she's not warm and chatty, or she makes awkward comments. Can you look past that because there are other traits and other things that you connect with? I mean, these are the people, try to remember this. These are the people who raise the person you love. And that is worth some grace.
Wow, that's a great reframe and a great perspective. You know, I love this person, and they raised her
They
to
raised
become
them.
who she is that I love.
They made you the way
Right,
you are.
right.
Yeah.
All right, but what if, what if
They're difficult.
your in-laws really are
I knew you were going to
difficult,
go there.
disrespectful, rude, cold?
know.
I mean, just ungodly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and sometimes they're not believers, and
Right.
they may act very differently if you're a believer, and you have very different ideas about that. So that's going to have to be a deeper conversation.
But it's still a conversation,
it's
right?
still a conversation. It's because it's not just your problem. It's a team problem.
Us.
So I want people to think about themselves being on a team,
Right.
and that you have to work as a team. And here's what's really important with that. It's that person's responsibility to stand up for you when it's needed.
So if I'm being berated by your family, you have to
It's
stand
me
up for me.
who has to stand up for you. Right. And
Okay.
if my family's crossing the line, I need to set some boundaries. I need to speak up, and I need to have your back.
Right.
So I think it's really important for whichever family it is, that person, that spouse, says, okay, I'm going to go talk to them. Because if you try to do that, they're just going to blame you.
Yeah,
They're going to
yeah.
blame the
Right,
in-law.
right,
It's like it's
right.
the in-law. He doesn't understand.
Yeah, which happens all the time
Yeah,
in
it
most
does.
families.
It does.
Okay, so I remember early on that summer, I had kind of overstimmed from the whole family thing.
Well, you were living in our house. That wasn't the easiest thing.
No, and I remember just quietly easing my way out and going for a walk just to get away from it all. That avoidance isn't good in the long term, but I just needed to break.
Yeah, I think there's a difference of needing a break, getting out, because we were all together in the same household, and it was very different from what you had been experiencing most of your life, right? That's different than, it's easier to avoid, but the question is it healthier
Right.
to
right.
avoid?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Not really.
No.
It's not. So we're talking about family relationships that can shape us and affect our emotional health, whether we realize it or not. So you have to work through these issues. Avoiding the problem, we know what happens, Norm. It leads to built up resentment, and eventually what happens is things boil over. So it's better to address the issues directly, try to find some kind of workable solution, and maybe that doesn't mean you're going to be best friends and these are going to be the best people in your life ever, but it does mean you can create respectful boundaries and reduce the conflict.
That's good. That's good. So I asked this question in the first part of our program about relationships one-on-one, and somebody just doesn't want to. Well, what about the family side of this? The family just doesn't want to work things out, and they're going to continue to be difficult because that's the way we are.
So you have to figure out a strategy as a team, how you're going to respond to that, and then you got to reunite in it. You just
good.
got to stay united, be a team, let your partner take the lead with his parents or her parents, but be together on what you decide, stick to it, always leaving room for reconciliation, and make sure you don't carry unforgiveness toward them. That's
good.
bad.
All of this advice is best served, I believe, when couples pray together on a regular basis, keep their individual walk and then their corporate or couple walk really strong with the Lord.
Yeah, that's really good to not only, pray together, but make sure your individual walk is strong. I love that, what you just said. And then, asking God for direction and his leading is part of what you do in a strong relationship. Because when you do that, you're going to have peace and you're going to be in unity with the directions that you take.
That's good because we already know, because we experience this and we've said this, but I want to say it again. When you do pray and seek God for wisdom, you're turning the focus away from yourself. You're less self-centered. You're less prideful. And you're a lot more willing to serve other people and to love sacrificially.
Yeah, so if you recognize these common problems, we've mentioned 4 today, commit to fixing them. The fix begins by bringing up the problem, having the courage to talk about it, and work
right.
on a solution.
Sure. And as we often have said on our program, sometimes it takes getting an outside third party to help you. There's nothing wrong going to a licensed, trained couples or family therapist to help you navigate these issues.
That's what I did.
That's
for
what
so
you
many
did.
years.
That's
I
right.
saw a lot of couples, a lot of families, and there's hope because we can work through these problems. We can come up with ways to go forward. So remember, relationships should be safe places to grow. Pray together. Be patient, kind, and loving in the process. Determined to work through problems, not avoid them. Don't allow them to fester and break you apart. That's all the time we have today. Many thanks to my co-host, Norm Mintel, who made this show a conversation, our technical producer, Wanjing Pu, and our editor, Katie Sims-Wilson. Hey, from all of us here at Faith Radio, we'll talk to you again next weekend. In the meantime, remember, we're doing life together, and it's better when you don't have to do it alone.
Doing life together.
Hey, thanks for listening to this conversation from the Dr. Linda Mintel Show. These conversations are available because of your support. Become a supporter now at myfaithradio.com. Please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes and share it with friends so we can live life to the fullest, walk confidently, and find healing and hope.